Well, speaking of a guy that's probably pretty happy, we're going to move on to Mr. Bradley Beal, man. Bradley Beal, if you did not
Hmm.
hear, got a buyout from the Phoenix Suns and is going to be heading to the Los Angeles Clippers. He agreed to a 2-year, $11 million contract. Man, Bradley Beal still getting 11-year contract, 2-year, $11 million contract is extremely impressive, I think, for Bradley Beal, considering that he's had kind of a pretty much an injury plagued season since he's been in Phoenix. Do you like the move for LA, and do you think Beal can kind of bounce back?
I do like the move for LA, and I think that he fills a need that they possess. I mean, obviously you've got James Harden that can kind of be that, de facto point guard. Still got a little bit of a scoring touch to him, but he's that de facto point guard. Kawhi at the three, and then you've got Bradley Beal at the two now. I think that fills a need. He's a multi-level scorer. Defensively, not the best player, but that's why you've got Kawhi on that team, and they've got, I think, a pretty sneaky good roster as well now that they're building out in LA. I mean, you've got Zubac. I love Zubac at the center. I think that he's one of the more underrated bigs in the game for sure. But yeah, I think that those four together do make a good core for Los Angeles. And is it something that they're favorites to win the finals? No, but could they potentially, if Harden's playmaking, Beal's scoring, and Kawhi's defense kind of all merges together really well, I could see this team being a potential dark horse candidate out west.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Clippers made a great move in getting him. If you can get Bradley Beal back to any kind of form of what he was before the pure scoring, I think it's a humongous move for them. I'm hoping it does. As a Florida Gators guy, I love Bradley Beal. I've always liked him in the league. I wish he could have been. I wish he didn't waste as much time in Washington as he did. It seems like they just sucked the will out of him out of there. And once you start getting into that losing mode, sometimes it's hard to get out of. And unfortunately, whenever he went to the Phoenix, he was pretty much injured the entire time. Just a quick question on, Bradley Beal. Do you think that the Clippers, that era of the Clippers, excuse me, the Suns, was one of the biggest busts in history? What's your thoughts when they look back on this? Because essentially all they ended up doing, they didn't win very much of anything. KD isn't there anymore. They got rid of a bunch of draft picks. Bradley Beal isn't there anymore. And then they just ended up re-signing Devin Booker. So they're pretty much back to square one that they
Yep.
started out with, just with less draft picks now. Do you think this is how do you look back on that time with the Phoenix Suns?
Oh, for sure. It was one of the biggest missed opportunities for that organization, especially because considering 2021, they were in the NBA Finals. So the fact that you go from reaching that pinnacle with Chris Paul, Devin Booker to now you have nothing, and Devin Booker, yeah, congratulations, but then you literally took a chance, multiple chances on KD and Beal, and it flamed out. That's what it was. It was a flame out of epic proportions, and now Houston Rockets are benefiting from that with KD, and now you're getting LA with potentially with with Bradley Beal as well. Also, too, just another interesting note as well. I know the NBA community is not very high on Ben Simmons and everything, but I will say this: if he can find a way to maybe settle into that power forward spot instead of trying to be a point guard, let James Harden handle that. Maybe he can kind of be more of that all around, do it all, power forward. That would be, I think, a really interesting starting lineup. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, no, Phoenix to go from basically the highest point they've been in since the '90s to now you're basically cooked. You've got nothing. There's nothing else to say about it. It was the biggest missed opportunity I think of the 2020s so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back on it too, I mean, like literally everything they've done, it just seemed like it did not work at all. Aiton was supposed to be the guy. He's not even there anymore. So like they've literally in that entire era of the KD and Beal time, if you will, amounted to nothing really. It's kind of a shame they lost out. They paid a lot of money out for these players, and I mean, you could almost count on your hands, on two hands, if you will, the amount of games they actually even played together. Like it would have been great to see them, and it would have been awesome to see them healthy. And see what this would have actually looked like. Because on paper, when that actually happened, a lot of people were picking them to win the West. Like this was going to be one of the biggest offensive scoring powers in the league. It just flamed out. It just never really worked out. So I totally agree with you. I think it's a huge missed opportunity for the city of Phoenix.
The fact, the fact that they could have had with the first overall pick, Luka Doncic. I know that there was like a big controversy back then of, they weren't going to draft him. They were going to draft a center. They already had Booker, but still, in hindsight's 2020. We get it. Still, you could have had Devin Booker and Luka Doncic on the same team. Just saying.
Yeah, I wonder how that would actually work, though.
I feel like it could. I mean, Booker can score at multiple levels. Luka, yeah, would be the more ball dominant of the two, but I feel like Booker could do enough off ball in terms of scoring to be able to be all right without the ball in his hands 24/7. Though the defensive questions would definitely linger. But
Mhm.
again, you get Chris Paul, you add Chris Paul to that team. Maybe there's a good, like, maybe he's able to kind of impart some more words of wisdom on to Luka Doncic with playing defense. And I felt like that team could have been good enough to switch enough to where, yeah, they're not D Book and Luka wouldn't necessarily be as big of liabilities. So
Well, what's interesting is pairing them two together. They eventually end up having some slight issues with each other later on in the series. Devin Booker made a lot of comments about Luka Doncic, kind of saying he was like overrated and all that stuff, and then Luka goes out that playoff game and just busts him with like 50 points in like the first half, I think
yeah.
it was, or something. So it would have been interesting to see that how it would have worked out if they were on the same team. But I think the liability, like you're saying, on defense, there would be absolutely no defense at all on that team. So.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of what they did with KD and Bradley Beal too. But the thing is, you don't have to commit nearly as much salary, and you still have most of your draft picks. So there's also
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no. I mean, hindsight is definitely 2020, especially when it comes to that as well. I mean, how the fact that Luka Doncic didn't go number one in that draft anyways is just insane anyway.
Or even at least number 2. The fact that
Right,
the Kings
right.
didn't take a chance on him. That
Yeah.
was, oh my gosh. Him and De'Aaron Fox on the same team.
Oh yeah. See, I think that would have worked out a lot better than him and Devin Booker a little bit. But
Oh,
but yeah, that it's so interesting when you look back at drafts, knowing what you know now. In any kind of sport, you can do that. Obviously, Tom Brady doesn't go in the sixth round. He would be probably number one. But that's just
Yeah.
how sports goes. You never know what you got until it actually happens. So that
Yeah.
always makes fun. It's always fun to look back on these things, knowing what you know now, though, for sure.